You know what's crazy? These ordinary people made it big just by taking it step by step. No superpowers, no magic, just belief, hustle, and persistence. If they did it, so can you. So buckle up and get ready to get inspired. This is your moment. The power of letting go. My journey from desperation to dream job. I've been meaning to share my success story for a while, as reading these massively helped me on my journey when I was feeling really down. My story will always be my own personal favorite, as even with its hardships, it taught me the most valuable life lessons from Neville Goddard. Letting go is true detachment. There's no worry, fear, or obsession. You trust that it's yours because you know that it is. Also, I believe my story is a great one for hope. I remember everyone saying how important it is to have connections to get a job these days, etc. I had none, lol. Just reminds you, you are always at the right place at the right time. You will be introduced to the right people at the right time. No matter how hopeless you feel, circumstances do not matter. I left my job in April last year with no backup plan, lol. For background, I was a teaching assistant and I kind of fell into the job after finishing uni with a psychology degree. I am 24F, UK. I enjoyed the job for about 2 years and then realized there was no more progress left in the job. I was never going to get recognized for my hard work or get anything like a pay rise. I just knew for my next job, I wanted to go into marketing and work from home. Once I left, I went traveling to Egypt, and for a good month or two, I didn't think about the next steps. I just enjoyed my freedom. I'm lucky to be able to do this as I had savings and lived at home, so not really any bills. When I got home from traveling, I decided it's time to face the music and think about the next steps. I decided to fill my day by going to the gym, going to the park, journal a little bit about what I want. At first, I stumbled across freelance marketing and made up a nice portfolio because I have previous experience with creating and managing social media content. Looking back though, I think I'd just done this because the process of starting the job hunt really overwhelmed me, so I was trying to avoid it by spending endless hours on making a pretty portfolio to feel productive. However, this helped me realize that I prefer stability, which doesn't always come with freelancing. It's a lot of promoting your own work and networking, to make and keep contacts, etc. Then, I just really got sad because I realized I had to actually start looking for jobs and apply. I didn't even know where to start. It didn't help that everyone on TikTok was complaining about the job market being crap. I remember just crying, feeling heaviness in my chest, and just asking God to ease my pain as I didn't know what was next for me. Then, when I felt called to, I just decided to make a new CV with previous experience in the school and social media. I also decided to take a few online marketing courses to beef up my CV and jazzed up my LinkedIn a little. I'd done this and sent off my CV to a few job roles I saved. However, I heard nothing back from most of them for like 3 months, lol. Some didn't even send rejections, just straight ghosting, lol. Then, I decided to call up a few recruitment agencies and send in my CV and ask them to put me forward for roles or help me tweak my CV. Many of them just dismissed my request and didn't care, lol. Then, I saw a connection request from a recruiter working at a recruitment agency. She seemed nice, so I just decided to shoot my shot and ask her for help with my CV, because, again, I felt called to. Let's call her Abby. She then set up a call with me, and we spoke on the phone for ages, just getting to know each other and me sharing about my work experience. She then vetted my CV and said I'm being too humble. I need to brag more, lol. Also, safe to say, I had a pretty self-esteem at this point, which I will get to in a little bit. So, after our phone call, I spent the weekend crafting my CV. According to Abby's advice, she gave me pointers on what to do. She then checked my CV the following week and said, it's good to go. She obviously looks at CVs day in and day out, so she knows what employers want to see. She then put me forward for a marketing role she thought I could be good for. in my salary range, etc. I wasn't hopeful, but I got an interview. My first one after about 3 to 6 months of job searching with no responses. Abby prepped me for the interview and I was so nervous. This definitely showed in the interview, as I had no confidence in myself, but they wanted to. Someone with experience rather than having to train someone up. I knew most things, but not some internal softwares. I got a call shortly after the interview that day that I was unsuccessful. I was devastated, even though I expected it. After feeling sorry for myself for a few days, I decided to dust myself off and try again. Lovely Abby called me, reassured me, and guided me on the next steps. Myself and Abby formed a lovely friendship during this period. I truly consider her my angel sent from God to guide me to the next step of my journey. She would call me almost every day, even some weekends, despite working with other clients and having a tough personal life going on. These phone calls quickly became the highlight of both our weeks, days, as we would both be listening ears for each other. She would put me forward for roles, find roles outside of her immediate positions that were suitable for me, and just really build my confidence in myself. After our calls, I would always be filled with a sense of hope and faith. I would feel called to look up job listings, save them, and send off my application with Abby's help. Since I thrive off routine and structure, I decided to get up each day, save a couple job applications I was interested in, and also send off applications for the ones I had saved. This actually had me feeling in the state of the wish being fulfilled. I started acting like I was at work or what a day working from home would be like. Once I had the momentum, my days felt filled with productivity and hope. I even made an Excel sheet to track my progress of applications. I also started nannying part-time near me to break up my week and give me some extra cash. This massively helped me not obsess. During this time, I read up a lot about Neville Goddard, listened to podcasts, and read a ton of success stories. A lot of them said to affirm and persist, as well as have a strong self-concept. So I also ensured to incorporate this into my daily routine. I done effed tapping for self-esteem, affirmed I am good enough and gainfully employed, prayed and looked at a vision board to help the feeling of the wish-fulfilled state. Made a list of my ideal conditions for a job, work from home, nice people, creative, and salary. Note, you don't need any techniques, they just helped me. Then, I come across a marketing job listing which looked cool. Let's call this company A, but probably a bit above what I thought. I could get salary-wise, was still working on self-concept here, lol, at this point. It was just a case of slightly tweaking my cover letter, CV, to match the job listing and submitting. I didn't even think much of it when I applied. It just fit my ideal requirements for a job. I just thought the worst they can say is no, right? A day or two after this though, I got a call from another job. Let's call this company B. I had applied for. They wanted an interview a day or two before company A's interview, along with an interview task. The job was also ideal, WFH, and once a week in the office, creative, etc. I completed this, but the organization of the company wasn't the best, so I already didn't feel too excited about it. Also to note during this time, I was seeing a lot of people online getting my wish, desire. I saw so many people getting jobs, but I didn't feel jealousy or envy. I felt hopeful and happy for them. I have read a lot that this is a good way of sensing that your desire being fulfilled is near. At this point, my confidence was high. All the affirming and persisting paid off. My self-concept was pretty good. In my head, I had no doubt in my mind that this is where I want a job. I started imagining myself daydreaming about working here, feeling so much calmness and excitement. I don't know how to explain it, but looking back, I definitely recall the same feeling right before getting anything I've ever wanted really badly. Then, before my second interview with Company A, Company B called me and offered me the job. I was happy, of course, but something in my gut just didn't feel fully excited. You'd think, after months of wanting a job so badly and willing to settle for anything, I would be more happy, lol, especially given that this job also had basically everything I wanted from my list of ideals. But I just couldn't. I think because I already made up my mind that company A is going to offer me the job. I had full unshakable confidence, lol. Also note, when company A came back to me for a second interview time email to confirm, I had let the hiring manager know I had been offered another job, but company A is still very much my first choice. I could sense company A didn't want to lose me, so I think that sped up their decision a little. Also, I had a dream that I got this job at company A and I was getting an induction. Boosted my ego confirmation even more, lol. I was happy, of course, but something in my gut just didn't feel fully excited. You'd think, after months of wanting a job so badly and willing to settle for anything, I would be more happy, lol, especially given that this job also had basically everything I wanted from my list of ideals. But I just couldn't. I think because I already made up my mind that company A is going to offer me the job. I had full unshakable confidence, lol. Also note, when company A came back to me for a second interview time email to confirm, I had let the hiring manager know I had been offered another job, but company A is still very much my first choice. I could sense company A didn't want to lose me, so I think that sped up their decision a little. Also, I had a dream that I got this job at company A and I was getting an induction. Boosted my ego confirmation even more, lol. Anyway, I accepted this offer at company B and signed the contract just to keep it there. However, I knew I would be withdrawing this contract soon as company A is going to offer me that job. I was sure. Then, I had the second interview with company A and it was about 15 minutes only. All good stuff. About 15 minutes later, the longest 15 minutes ever, company A hiring manager called me to offer me the job. Now, I was excited. This was the feeling I was holding out for and imagining in my head. 6 months on, it's still the best job I've ever had. The hiring manager is my now line manager and is the best person to work with ever, along with the rest of the team. So all those times I was divested, it didn't work out, was truly not rejection, just redirection. If I had gotten those other jobs, I wouldn't be nearly as happy as I am here. The patience and wait was worth it. Trust, even if it feels like everything is falling apart. No rain, no flowers. This is lengthy, but these are the exact stories that kept me going when I was struggling. The most important take I got from all of this is, you need a strong self-concept. Your internal world really does reflect in your external. Also, I noticed when I detached, that's when things started moving in motion, truly. I noticed this before getting any of my desires. I basically have to fatigue my mind until it just lets go, lol. It's the hardest part though. I had to tell myself that I'm doing my part, now God will do his. Also, I'm not sure if this is just a result of my frontal lobe developing at 25 lol, but after this, I honestly just stopped giving so much of a crap and trying to control things. I always tell myself, I've always gotten everything I've ever wanted eventually, which is true, and this is my testimony. Trust yourself. You can change any of your circumstances. From broke yoga teacher to $1 million business, my manifestation journey. I have received a few questions about how I manifested a 7-figure business using the law as Neville taught it. In this case, I used an affirmation as taught in the Scientific Healing Affirmations book by P. Yogananda. This was my first time ever attempting this practice. All I knew was that I needed to change my mindset, and I had no idea where that could take me. So, I used this affirmation as a tool to help me tune into the feeling of already being rich. Neville said, we can use affirmations to feel a certain reality. Like the story of the poor woman who used "Isn't it wonderful" to manifest permanent financial freedom by sustaining the feeling of something wonderful happening to her before falling asleep. She also didn't know what specific thing to focus on, so she focused on a generalized assumption, as I did in this case. I read the book and picked an affirmation. Since I had never manifested money before, I had a bunch of doubts and chose a long affirmation to soothe my uncertainty. I was also technically broke at the time and searching for a way out of that situation. I was 21 years old when I started the practice and was unhappy being a yoga teacher, getting paid $35 per hour while living at my parents' house. That might sound like alright pay, but getting full-time hours was extremely hard and labor-intensive as a yoga teacher. Even getting 3 classes per day was difficult, and the occasional private class paid only $120 per hour. I was also aware that I was suffering from failure consciousness because I had recently dropped out of college and was sincerely worried about my financial state. I didn't want to go back to school, so that was completely out of the picture. I didn't want to be a yoga teacher for the rest of my life either. I just had no idea what to do next to get myself out of the anxious state. In this affirmation, Father is referred to as God or the Creator. I chose this because it felt soothing and assuring, and it implied that I am wealthy because I am God's child, which was a big confidence boost. It also affirmed that I am naturally rich without needing any reason, and my current natural self is enough to be wealthy now. The affirmation, Thou art my Father, success and joy, I am thy child, success and joy, all the wealth of this earth, all the riches of the universe, belong to thee, I am thy child, the wealth of earth and universe belongs to me, oh belongs to me, belongs to me. I lived in thoughts of poverty and wrongly fancied I was poor, so I was poor. Now I am home. Thy consciousness hath made me wealthy, made me rich. I am successful, I am rich. Thou art my treasure, I am rich, I am rich. Thou art everything, thou art everything, thou art mine. I have everything, I have everything. I am wealthy, I am rich. I have everything, I have everything. I possess all and everything, even as thou dost, even as thou dost. I possess everything, I possess everything. Thou art my wealth, I have everything. I practiced this affirmation every night before going to sleep. First, I said it out loud, then softer, then whispered, and finally, I only said it mentally until I felt the statement as my reality. I repeated it until I felt it as real, and then fell asleep. It took about 5 minutes or less each night and each morning. After about 3 months of consistent practice, something wonderful happened. One night, I felt and accepted myself as wealthy in an overwhelming way. My entire being believed and knew that I am rich, I am wealthy. I felt as if my awareness became a perfect mirror of the consciousness of that affirmation. I fell asleep in that state of feeling and awareness, completely immersed in certainty. I still had no idea what I was going to do, and I had no physical proof for this, but the feeling of certainty in success was overwhelming. I knew my success is inevitable. The next morning, I woke up certain that I was somehow going to make $200,000. I still had no idea how or in what way. I had a lot of doubts in my conscious mind, but subconsciously I had an unshakable certainty. During this time, I was going through a transition. I was about to move to a group house with some of my friends. This was in March 2020. A conflict occurred within the group, and everyone started feeling uneasy because of potential COVID dangers. My plans of moving got canceled, and I stayed where I was. This was emotionally quite tough for me. One day, while browsing through Etsy, I noticed that face masks were trending on the search engine. I thought to myself, well, I can ask my mom to sew some face masks. She could sew well, and we had a sewing machine collecting dust. I had previously had an Etsy business in high school, so I was quite familiar with the platform. It wasn't completely new to me. I started this business on March 18th, about 2 to 3 months after starting the affirmations. In the first few days, I made about $1,000 to $3,000 per day. That was a lot of masks being sewn by one person. Lockdowns became more serious, and face masks became mandatory in most states in the US then. Suddenly, we started selling $25,000 worth of masks in a day. The next day, it was $60,000, and the day after that, it was $100,000. Orders were pouring in from across the US. I was sort of freaking out because I couldn't produce that many masks. In less than a month, we had $300,000 in revenue. Luckily, I lived close to Los Angeles, so I drove to the fashion district and found a manufacturing company. At that time, most stores were closed. I couldn't find bulk fabric, but through word of mouth, I found out that some stores were secretly open. Finally, I got the supply I needed and ordered thousands of masks to be sewn. By the end of 3 months, I had sold $850,000 worth of face masks. After deducting all the costs, I personally walked away with $250,000, and I paid my mom $50,000 for helping me out. Most of the money was spent on shipping costs. I also hired about 15 employees, but there was a lot of drama involved, with people trying to rip us off and steal our products and dealing with delays, customer service, and manufacturers' irresponsibility. During this time, 2 other events occurred while I was practicing the affirmations before the business was manifested. I received a random offer to give spiritual counseling to one of my yoga students. I told her I could offer her friendly advice, but didn't expect any money. She invited me to her house, and we talked for a couple of hours. Then she compensated me for my time. I didn't refuse it, but later thought it was interesting because I had never experienced this before. My mom randomly gave me a bag of 30 unique Persian turquoise gems. A high school friend of hers, who was in the business of mining Persian turquoise, gave it to her to see if I could find a market for it. She said if I could find a bulk buyer, we would get into the business of importing them. If not, I could keep the gems. This was during COVID, so I basically let it go until later when I started to get quotes for the stones. Apparently, 4 of those rocks are worth plus $900 and will continue to appreciate in value. Both of these minor events occurred during the 3 months when I was practicing the affirmations before the major one occurred. It's like I became a flower that oozed wealth consciousness, and various wealth opportunities were attracted to me in a seemingly random fashion. Moral of the story: it fucking works, and the science of mind is real. Human consciousness is superior to all natural forces on this planet. It just has to be controlled and directed. An undisciplined mind is the greatest human enemy. Learn to acquire the consciousness of your wishes being fulfilled and just do good in the world. Don't be a limited human, practice being unlimited in your consciousness.
Subscribe to stay on top of all the fresh videos.